All right, Mark, how you doing?
Doing well, Brian. How you doing today?
All right, all right. Looking forward to this chat. It's always exciting with you. What's going on? What are you doing?
Not much, busy as always, but like everyone in the world, just trying to keep ahead of, all the momentum going across industries, AI, crypto, everything in between. So it's been good. What about you?
Yeah, we come out of spring break. You try to take a break. You work, and then you come back, and you're like, the AI landscape has completely changed. I mean,
Absolutely.
it went from us looking at AWS and building in Bedrock to a couple weeks ago pivoting to Anthropic and going that route. And I had this feeling over the weekend coming back from spring break. I'm watching videos and trying to update myself. I'm like, that's probably going to change in 2 weeks too.
Absolutely.
It's just crazy the pace of this. So what do we have to rebuild that we built? But I think that the new AI will be able to take what we have built and just mirror it, change it, and do it all where it doesn't feel like reconstruction. At least
Absolutely.
that's what I hope. But from what I've seen from it feels like that's the capability for sure.
Yeah. And look, it's an exciting time for all of us, right? It forces us to stay ahead of the curve, be open to learning new things, right? And it's incumbent on each of us to take that personal responsibility to read, practice, test, experiment. So it's good. I think it's all good.
Yeah, the one part that I don't like is the way that, and we have the ability to do it too. I mean, anybody with an X account can port in via API and basically have an AI agent running on their computer, creating content, images, videos, and without approval coming from their account, just spraying X. And it's just, it's, hey, time for a thread or something, right? Like, and it's just delusional. And what we found is clients are getting a lot of misinformation. And so the past couple of weeks, and this really relates to where Bitcoin is in the marketplace, but then them also catching some news or headlines or threads, and then not getting to the meat of what could actually help preserve and build them wealth. So what do I mean by this? So, Bitcoin here in its price and its pullback, we didn't go down to 65% like past bear markets. So we may not be in a bear market. This may be an elongated pullback of a bigger bull cycle. That's to be determined. Let's see what the summer does and, next October. All right. Or October coming up. But while this has been extended, this pullback, here we are. October was the all-time high. Now we're about to go into April. Prices have come down and then they've just been sliding sideways. Our clients, wealthy clients, are always active. Their businesses are going on. Maybe they're doing some real estate. They have liquidity needs. They could be real estate rich and cash poor. And so, we've had some that are doing business deals that go, well, look, I need a bridge loan or capital on something. The crypto I have with you guys is the only thing truly liquid, which is a great part about it. But it's something that they don't think, oh, wait, it's a taxable event. We have large gains, right? And so, when they're taking in their news or surfing on X, they're seeing all kinds of different things that are just distracting them from focusing.
Yeah.
Make your life simple. And so I'll give you, a scenario in this, like, there's a tax rate, if you're in California and you have a large gain and depending even on short-term, long-term, and you earn a lot with California's additional tax, you could be north of 35%. So if you're at a 100% gain and you look to liquidate $1 million, right, just to bridge you for 3 months, these tax bills, it's $350,000 that adds to the real estate bill. And so what we've been doing with clients is, and we like this now, is, hey, look, you can borrow against this. And it's amazing. They think of the idea, but they don't really realize how it can be done. And they're not getting this information because Twitter and the news is just now just dumping things that'll get their eyeballs and not things that'll help them grow wealth. And so it's been a pleasure to do this with clients the last few weeks of, saving them taxes. They just got to pay the interest rate and the carry. These loans are great. They can be closed at any time. So, the interest rates divided by whatever duration that they go. and it's over collateralized. We think Bitcoin's already had a majority of its pullback. And so, we're comfortable with clients, and it's just a much better scenario. And the right way to use this nest egg.
Yep.
Because a couple of years ago, the accounts weren't as big as value. Now they're bigger in value. They could use this as a tool to grow their wealth in other areas of their books. So that's been exciting now, for us to work on this with clients, despite, some of the headlines out there.
You're exactly right. And you hit on a bunch of threads that I think are all really good call outs. First, I think the information diet everyone's consuming, whether through X or social media in general, it's hard to keep up, and it's hard to disseminate between like what's factual, what is AI slop in a lot of ways, and what's, sort of hearsay or conjecture from folks who are somewhere in between, being up to date. So it's incumbent when like everybody follow the right accounts, follow the right organizations, and then partner with, I think, companies that are ahead of the game, who are staying up to date on law, tax changes, compliance, everything in between. And I think, to your earlier point, we're fortunate to work with a lot of great individuals who I think recognize that, who also attempt to do a lot on their own in terms of staying up to date around what's going on. But it's important to have that right partnership. And to the point around what's happening and evolving in the crypto space, especially over the last few years, and how to leverage those assets, it's exciting. I think you're right. Everybody's individual circumstances are always different, but there are a lot of folks who've now realized and found themselves in a situation where, if liquidity is something that they need to get more access to, like the bench of options is much larger than it was years ago. So I think it's helpful for us to at least surface that and work with clients who now at least we can bring more value to the table for them, because there are more tools in the toolbox. So it's been great. And yeah, I'm always excited by the response that folks have when they get educated on this stuff. And I think the next couple of years will be even more. So it's a good time to be in the space.
Yeah, love it. All right, pick a topic. We're gonna do one more here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on. I'll tell you one that has recently stood out. I listen to a bunch of different podcasts out there. One I've started to squarely focus in on is called Moonshots, Peter Diamandis and others. One of the recent threads that stood out to me is around what's happening in longevity, how AI, how nanobots, and all these things are converging in a space where I think longevity is a topic that's going to be more and more pressing for a lot of people, especially I think the baby boomer generation. Their view on what health span and lifespan look like is going to change. The reason I bring this up for us is I think a lot of the clients we talk with, particularly those who are mid-age, and especially those who might be in that baby boomer generation, they have a core thesis on what is the right amount of capital they need to survive and really have a productive life, either second stage or latter stage of the career, or in many cases retirement. I think what's interesting to me is how a lot of this is fundamentally going to change in the next decade, I strongly believe, where as folks are living significantly longer and healthier lives, the way they look at retirement, a nest egg, how they look at financial assets as a tool to make life comfortable, I think it's going to drastically evolve. And I think what's most exciting for us is we can have these conversations with clients and give them a wider view on how things like Bitcoin can play into that narrative. And when you think of the compounding opportunity ahead, based on kind of the traction that we see in the market every single day, the institutional adoption, otherwise, like we naturally get excited every day. But I think it'll be an interesting story that we can confidently share with clients in the next couple of years as they see it firsthand, how this healthcare, longevity, health span narrative changes, where the traditional playbook of what you need to live comfortably is going to really evolve. And I think it's going to put a lot of the traditional financial, advising industry in a tough situation, because they don't, not only do they not see what we see, but they don't have the insights and knowledge around the assets that's really going to provide that durability. So that's been one thing I've been spending a lot of time thinking about. But again, I think it positions us really well. And it's something that I think clients are going to have to spend more time thinking about in the near future.
Yeah, you and I just started recording these business, like the first part of these business development meetings, and I love it. But we've been doing these for a while. And last summer, we talked about longevity Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it does seem like the under 40 year old clients that we have are looking at their crypto portfolio and a portion of that being allocated to health and wellness
Yeah.
and living longer and looking younger, right? And so not only is the legacy just about assets
Yeah.
and passing those down, but about feeling youthful to enjoy the assets with their family and their kids. And so it's interesting that this has come back around. And I agree with you where holistic wealth management, as we do too, we don't, it's not broadly advertised, but we do have stock and bond portfolios and we are a specialist in crypto, but I agree with it. Like, and that's why we've talked about it. And to model in long-term financial planning, an allocation that shows, yes, okay, this line here is emergency medical needs when you're older that are going to come out of pocket outside of insurance. And then right below that, longevity, right? And that line right there. And I could see a future where, how is that funded in the way that it goes? And I'm not so much for, the rolling of loans we like the bridge loans that we spoke about earlier. You get that done, you repay your capital, don't incur a lot of interest in where it goes, but selling upside calls just the right amount on a really low delta basis, that could be something that's very useful in generating additional income in accounts versus the need to sell and create taxable events to fund this stuff.
I think it's exactly right. And the one challenge I would have for anybody watching this is I like second order, second derivative questions. Like if we're right about this longevity thing, which we've spent a lot of time talking about and thinking about, and I think there's people much smarter than us who see what's coming around the corner. If those folks are right about that, what does that mean for your portfolio and the new requirements? I think there's a handful of firms that sort of meet the old guard definition that really are going to get caught flat-footed. Well, I think there's a lot of firms and organizations, institutions, us included, who I think are prepared for it, and I think have been proactive in thinking through this. And ultimately, I think it's going to transform how the average investor, the average retail investor really sees what that looks like and what their portfolio needs to look like and the construction there. And it'll just be an ongoing conversation, right? We could be wrong about some of this, but even if we're directionally right, it's going to require just a rethinking of everything. And we'll be part of the education process alongside our clients. And it'll be important for us to pressure test some of our views as we do all the time. But ultimately, what we're seeing, I think, is directionally right.
Yeah. I'll leave you with this. Over the past couple of weeks, it's felt good to help clients beyond just, asset pricing, but to help them with us sharing what we're doing in AI to help their own business. If we can help them in their business, they can make more money, have a more successful retirement and legacy planning. And that's something we're going to continue to do. And I think like our mindset of doing that holistically with the management, with something like longevity Bitcoin, if we coin that term, is going to be something great. Well, great chat. We're going to take it offline from here and we'll talk to you all soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Brian.
This is for educational purposes only, not personalized financial advice. All investments, including crypto, carry risk, including loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results.